Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked.
Hello. This is episode 202, and I am bringing a case to your attention today that I believe is much needed. The more people talking about this case, the better. Way back in episode 187, I talked about the case of Crystal McCrory Jones, whose family is actively pursuing a relook into the alleged suicide as they believe her death was a homicide. In that episode, I named a few other women who have died by what was first believed to be suicide, but with further evidence seems to likely be homicide, and almost always at the hands of their previously violent spouse. This is another one of those stories. But before we get into this heart-wrenching and fury-inducing case, let's share some fun facts. What do you have for me?
I was just going to say that I have a feeling I'm going to get mad now. So I'm glad that you said it. But my fun fact is something that frequently frustrates me, and that there's never enough hours in the day to get all your shit done. Well, the Earth's rotation is changing speed. It's actually slowing down, which means on average, the length of a day increases by around 1.8 seconds every century.
Every century? Wow! Get a whole other second.
I'm gonna get a whole other 2 seconds.
Yeah, we just gotta live to be 100. No big deal.
It's still wild, though. Like, what?
That is crazy.
500 years. What are their days gonna look like?
Okay, tell me.
Only a few seconds.
Explain again
really
why it's increasing.
Because the Earth is slowing down in speed.
Slowing down.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I know, it's weird.
That is weird. Interesting.
What is your fun fact?
Interesting. My fun fact, I actually just learned this the other day. Abercrombie & Fitch, the clothing store in the mall that assaults you with beachy teen boy cologne, used to be an outdoor sporting goods store where you could buy camping equipment and even guns. The leather jacket worn by Amelia Earhart in her most famous photo was likely from there. President Theodore Roosevelt would buy all his camping gear from there, and the gun that Ernest Hemingway used to leave this world was likely from Abercrombie & Fitch. Obviously, they eventually underwent a rebranding, which happened in about 1988, when a company called Limited bought the name, and they started advertising West Coast model clothing to teens and young adults.
And assaulting our senses.
It
is an assault in there. The store is dark.
It is.
It's loud.
And it hurts your nose. Like, the smell is so much. It hurts.
I get stressed out when I go in there.
Yeah, I don't even know if I've seen one in any of the places I've lived in a really long time. They'd probably do better if they were selling outdoor stuff again where I live.
True enough, especially when it's like melting heat over there. Oh god, I have no depth perception with a hat on, and I just like bonked my mic. My bad, guys.
Sometimes.
We're just here to make all sorts of aggressive noises. Sierra is, if you're watching this on YouTube, in another setting.
I'm in a new setting.
Her brother was sleepy today, so she's in her daughter's egg.
I'm in a pod for the pod, okay? It's a pod. It hangs.
I kind of want one. I'm really jealous.
It's really awesome. There's actually little lights in here, but the batteries are dead, and she's not home right now, so there's no point in putting new batteries in it. But it hangs, and it's like round. It's actually really cozy. I'm kind of hot. I wish I had a fan blowing in here, but otherwise, it's really, cozy, and I feel like I'm in a pod.
Do they make adult ones?
I mean, this one's
Bubba's
pretty big.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
no, I meant like pattern-wise. I know Bubba's is like space-themed, and this one's leopard print. And
yeah, the only other one I've seen has rainbow hearts all over it, which is cute, but it's like, if you know what I'm talking about, it's like rainbow hearts. I don't know, that you see babies wear. It's not.
It would feel like too much
a pride
on the pair that side.
Yeah, it's not a like pride kind of thing. It's more like a I'm 2 years old kind of thing, unfortunately.
I just need adult ones to be that much of a cozy little space.
Right.
I feel like
Yeah.
that could solve my reading chair problems because I
Mm-hmm.
refuse to pay $1,000 for a nesting chair. It's simply not happening. So I have
Yeah.
alerts set on Facebook Marketplace because people buy them and then they're like regret because they're so big.
Yeah.
And probably they never use them as much as they think that they were going to. So they sell them on Facebook Marketplace. And there's two scenarios. One, they're not that much cheaper than a brand new one. And is
Uh-huh.
it worth it? So I don't buy it. Or two, it's super cheap. And then in the description, they say that it was their dog's bed. And I'm
Ew.
like, I plan to shampoo it anyway, but I'm like, that's gross. Like, you can't get
Yeah. I
the
don't know
smell of
about that.
dog out of,
You kind of
especially big
can't.
dogs.
Yeah.
Like, everything just still smells like dog.
Yeah. This I'm telling you,
So
even
I
this
think I
kids
need
one,
one of those.
if you could get over the pattern or put some stuff over, I have, if you haven't noticed, my
I know
own
it's like a canopy.
curtain on top of it because I was trying to hide the pattern too, but it's all behind me. So, whatever. If you can get over the pattern, it is really cozy. Bubba sleeps in his. Like,
I
it's big enough
know.
for him to sleep in.
When you gave a tour the other day, he was like bundled in there like a little
Yeah.
cocoon. And I'm like, I need one.
It's pretty awesome.
And I also need the beverage in your hand. I didn't
Mm,
make it yet because I do intend to go sit in the sun after this. So I was going to bring mine with me, a virgin
yeah.
one, in a little to go cup because I don't want to get arrested for drinking at a park with children. Um, but right now I am just drinking a very, very large protein iced coffee
Yum.
and water because I just did 2 hours of sweating. But what are
Yeah.
you drinking? Tell us about it.
So this episode pairs well, sort of. You'll see why later. It doesn't pair well with much of anything because it's just so anger inducing. However, I gotta show you the picture that I took of this drink because the picture pairs well. Okay. It's a giant, let me rephrase. The episode pairs well with a giant margarita, peach margarita from Texas Roadhouse. Do you guys have Texas Roadhouse?
No, it's an
Okay.
American chain. Well, maybe East
Yeah.
Middle Canada does, but we don't.
Texas Roadhouse has this peach margarita that is like the size of my head,
I love
okay?
it.
And then they put little shooters on top sometimes if you ask for them. It's huge, it's delicious. I attempted a mocktail version. So I made a peach margarita with peach lemonade acai herbal infusion tea as my liquid, an actual peach that I blended, honey and lime. And I just blended it up over ice. And I have a sugar rim on my margarita. I like sugar rims on margaritas. It's really good. If you do choose to add booze, tequila is the right one for a margarita. But look at this photo that I took of the drink. It looks angry. The drink is angry. Isn't that awesome?
That's so funny.
It's
Look at that.
perfect.
It was putting on a show for you. You have to send me that, and you have to send me the one that you took of last week's so I can
I
post it today.
did, and I
Where?
liked it. I sent it from my Twist Sierra to the Twisted and Uncorked. I liked it the other day so that it would alert you. There it is.
You're like, you're dumb.
But here it is. Thumbs up. The peach,
Well,
the raspberry thing, right?
yeah. That's
Yeah,
what
you
it
can
was
see
like,
it.
because mine looked like a crime scene. No one needed that. I'll
Well,
find
I'll
it.
go like it again. It's
Yeah,
not very
just
far.
weird. It's weird. Oh, I got so distracted by your potatoes. I found
Yeah.
it. We're good.
You found it?
Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, that's perfect. Sierra, like I said, guys, is much better at making these drinks. I'm sure that with my luck with blended drinks, I'm sure I'm gonna make that, and it's not gonna be the right consistency as usual. So I will
I just put
report
mine
back.
over ice. Mine's not even like blended.
I
There's
feel like
just
that's
foam
the
on top.
easiest way to make
Yeah.
margaritas, but something about a blended margarita is delicious.
I know. All right. Well, enough happy talk. We are going to get into some sad stuff after a quick break. All right. We are going to start with the incident and work our way back from there. On May 20th, 2015, Michael Colucci placed a call to 911 to request help for his wife, Sara Lynn Colucci, 38, who was unresponsive outside their jewelry business, potentially having attempted suicide. When EMTs and police arrived, Sara Lynn's body was sort of leaning or pressed up against the side of the building. It was cold to the touch, and livor mortis had already begun to set in. She had a black hose, like a garden hose, and it was wrapped loosely around her neck and also around a fence post. There's a photo, if you Google it. It's not of her. There's a blanket over her, but you can see how loosely the hose is wrapped. If you want to type in Sara Lynn Colucci scene, maybe. I meant to bring it up, but I hated looking at it while I was writing my notes, so I left it out of my notes. I'm sorry.
Oh.
You see
Yeah,
it?
that's upsetting.
Michael said he attempted to give her CPR but was unsuccessful, though he somehow gave himself a fat, bloody lip while doing that. Also, when you give somebody CPR, you have to make sure they're flat on the ground, people. Okay? Make sure you do that. Thanks. A few things he did not mention, at least one person took mental notes of, was that he also had bruises and scratches along his upper arms, peeling skin on the inside of his wrist, like when someone digs their fingernail into you, and abrasions on his knuckles. Sara Lynn had a black eye. The tip of one of her fingernails was broken off and happened to be in the front seat of Michael's car, and her sunglasses were in the vehicle as well, broken, with some pieces on the driver's side and others on the passenger side. She also had abrasions on her knees and on the top of her foot. Sara Lynn was wearing strappy sandals, and the same foot with the abrasion happened to have her shoe dangling off. So the shoe was no longer on her foot, but it was still wrapped around her ankle by the straps, almost like it was dragged right off of her. So how did the couple get to this place anyway? Michael claimed that he and Sara were with their attorney that day. I'll explain why later. And then after meeting their attorney, they went to dinner, and then Sara Lynn wanted to go and visit the grave of her late husband. Michael said he had driven Sara Lynn to this warehouse where her body was found right after so that she could use the restroom inside while he waited in the car. But he says she was pretty upset. So Sara was previously married and had a child with a man named Michael Vieira. They're both Michael, so I'm just going to call him Vieira. In 2017, Vieira was on a trip to Myrtle Beach with some friends and attend a motorcycle rally. While there, he had a bad reaction to drug use. According to his friends, he started to get violent, and they weren't sure what to do with him. They called Sara Lynn to ask if she knew of a way to calm him down, but she told them to just let him walk it off. So, according to them, that is what they did. Vieira would be found the next morning on the roadway. He had on blue jeans and a belt, but no shirt or shoes, and only one sock. He had cocaine and more than $1,000 on him, along with a gold necklace still around his neck. He had 26 puncture wounds to the chest, a few lacerating his heart and lungs, and the knife was found laying right beside him. He had no defensive wounds, and there was no other evidence to conclude that someone had done this to him. In fact, the police officially concluded that this was an accidental suicide due to a bad acid trip based on Vieira testing positive for cocaine, cocaine degradation product, marijuana metabolite, and LSD. His family claims otherwise, that maybe Vieira's so-called friends had more to do with this than they let on, but it has never been investigated further. Visiting Vieira's grave was something that Sara Lynn did regularly, and she was good about keeping the memory of Vieira alive for her daughter. But, according to Michael Colucci, her new husband, this was a very hard time for Sara Lynn due to the past trauma, and she had been upset about other unknown and never asked about things lately. Michael said that he took Sara Lynn to their jewelry warehouse, where they worked. They owned this place together, because she was picky about where she would use the restroom. However, others in her life claimed that she was not at all picky and would pop a squat outside if she needed to. But that is just one of many inconsistencies. Michael said that he parked and Sara Lynn went in and he stayed out in the car. Sometimes his story suggests that he fell asleep. Sometimes it suggests that he was looking down at his phone and just not paying attention. Either way, even though the hose could be seen from the vehicle, he did not notice anything weird until about 15 minutes later, according to his story, when he got out to go and check on Sara Lynn, and he found her with the hose wrapped around her neck. The lead medic who arrived on the scene took notes, and in his notes he wrote, quote, "No point of anchoring for body weight. No evidence of an actual drop. Very low probability of suicide by hanging," end quote. But that day, that night, and for a while after, nothing really happened here. The police took Michael in for questioning, where he said maybe she just tripped and fell into the hose if she didn't do it on purpose.
Okay, what is this, the toilet incident all over again? Like, we don't just
tripped and fell.
and fall into things and hang ourselves or drown, okay, people? Like, this makes me so mad.
The officers must have glossed over all these inconsistencies and just took Michael Colucci's word for it that Sara Lynn must have killed herself. Just a few weeks before Sara Lynn's death, Michael Colucci had formally adopted Sara Lynn's daughter. So after she died, her daughter stayed with him. But things were not the way they were before. Michael wasn't seeing or even allowing Sara Lynn's daughter to see Sara Lynn's parents, who were very heavily involved in their lives before. And they already had a feeling that something wasn't right with Sara Lynn's death, but this made the suspicion stronger. And they asked if the newly elected sheriff in their town would take another look. Thankfully, he agreed that a suicide seemed suspicious, as both Sara Lynn and Michael had defensive wounds. And so he asked the State Law Enforcement Division, aka SLED, to reinvestigate this case. I don't even remember if I mentioned earlier that this is in South Carolina. I don't think I did. South Carolina. Sorry, guys. Horry County. So it was because of SLED that a year later in 2016, it's been a year since her death, Michael Colucci was finally arrested for the strangling murder of Sara Lynn. But it doesn't end there. We are just getting started. Michael Colucci was born Michael Antonio. His mother, however, eventually married Ivo Colucci, who became his stepfather. But Michael's mother and stepfather did not change his name, and he was never adopted either. Michael Colucci changed his own last name to his stepfather's last name, Colucci, at the age of 18, when he was legally allowed to change his name to whatever he wanted. Colucci is a name that is very well known in the Charleston, South Carolina area. It is likely that he changed his name because he knew that he would get special treatment having a name like this, seeing that his stepfather opened and owned the Colucci Jewelry Factory, as well as a lot of real estate in the area. Ivo Colucci, his stepfather, was a well-known man and well-known for being a good and honest man who took care of the good people in the area who came to him to make a purchase. Michael, however, didn't get along with his stepfather, according to his stepsister. He has been described by others as having a short temper and being volatile, as well as starting or stirring up a lot of trouble for Ivo and Michael's mother. For some reason, though, Michael ended up with the jewelry business in the end after Ivo decided to retire. Ivo's youngest son and Michael were meant to own and operate the store together, but eventually Ivo's son didn't want much to do with it anymore, and so Michael bought him out and kept it for himself. Then he opened a second location, as well as a warehouse where people could come and sell gold. It's called the Gold Standard, which he opened with Sara Lynn, and that is where she would eventually be found dead. But before we get there, I have to mention that Michael actually lost the original store that his stepfather Ivo gave him. Ivo had to come out of retirement to take it back because Michael wasn't doing a very great job with it. Michael consistently had money problems, according to others, including and especially around the time that Sara Lynn died. It's hard to find exact information on Michael and Sara Lynn's life before this incident happened because so much of the media is updated new information that has been coming out lately. But it seems that Sara Lynn and Michael met around 2009, 2 years after her first husband passed away. Sara Lynn was described as being very loyal, sometimes to a fault, though she also never backed down from her opinion until she met Michael. She was vibrant and cared about the way things looked. She took the time to get dressed nice every day. She took the time to make her home look nice. She took the time to ensure her daughter looked perfectly presentable. Everything was just so. Sara Lynn seemed to be trying to take care of herself and her daughter on her own in 2009, and she was doing a great job of it. Meanwhile, Michael was going through a divorce and a custody battle for his own daughter, as well as getting into some trouble for not paying the medical bills of his friend that he was supposed to pay due to an accident that Michael caused by roughhousing with his friend. Specifically, by putting that friend in a chokehold and slamming him backwards, fracturing his leg. So, and I get it happened when they were
Why
in
are
college,
men
but exactly. It happened when they were in college, but like, come on. You're fucking old enough to be paying medical bills. How about you not fucking roughhouse? Like, you're too old. You're too
to be
fucking old.
roughhousing, first of all?
What the
Second of all,
hell?
I never just get the urge to put my friend in a chokehold.
Yeah,
Maybe this is the difference between men and women.
maybe. But a mutual friend wanted to hook up Sara and Michael, and eventually they agreed to meet. Sara Lynn described it as being love at first sight, but a love based on only looks is bound to be a struggling one. They got married, and Michael moved into Sara Lynn and her daughter's house with his daughter. Sara Lynn's daughter remembers her mom and Michael fighting a lot. She remembers him being, at the very least, verbally abusive to both her and her mom, but also physically so to her mom. Sara Lynn's friends said that eventually she stopped coming around, and it seemed to be because of Michael. They all still loved her and would gladly hang out with her and talk to her again, but she didn't seem to want to anymore. Sara Lynn's mom said that this marriage was taking a toll on her. Sara Lynn did talk about being depressed, and one time said to her mother, through tears and a messy home, that if it wasn't for her two girls, her daughter and her stepdaughter, that she would hang herself in the garage. Her mother interjected with a well-meaning, "Don't say that," and Sara Lynn walked it back. "Of course I don't mean it. I'm just so stressed. I would never do that to the girls," etc. But Sara Lynn's mom told this information to Michael, her daughter's assumedly loving husband, and told him to watch her and to help her. This was just 2 weeks before she died by hanging. When Sara Lynn died, she was being treated for ADHD, depression, and anxiety. She also self-medicated with both drugs and alcohol. According to a few people who have talked about this case online, it seemed Michael was probably partaking in much more than a socially normal amount of drugs and alcohol as well. But Sara Lynn was the one who died and whose body was autopsied. At the time of her death, she was found to have a blood alcohol content of 0.238, as well as having cocaine and Xanax in her system. Clearly, she had been drinking, but they had been at dinner. And I won't sit here and say that, I'm not going to pretend that 0.238 isn't a really high blood alcohol
I was
concentration.
gonna say, what is the legal limit again?
For driving, 0.08.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I'm
But
like,
let
that's
me
like triple.
I have a whole explanation, okay?
Okay.
So, for someone who is self-medicating with alcohol, for an alcoholic, it's really not that crazy of a thought.
True.
And she wasn't driving. So 0.08.
No, for sure. I was just trying to think of like what is legally intoxicated as a
Right.
measure. Yeah.
0.08 is the if you have a 0.08 or higher, you legally cannot drive. However, 0.08 for a 100, I don't know how much Sara Lynn weighed, but for a 150-pound woman is 2 to 3 quote unquote drinks. A quote unquote drink is either 5 ounces of wine, 1 beer, or 1 shot. That's what one drink is. The Texas Roadhouse Peach Margarita contains 3 shots alone if you don't have the one on top. So one Texas Roadhouse margarita is
It's
already
technically 3
0.08.
drinks. Yeah.
Is already 0.08. If she had 3 of those, there you go. There's her blood alcohol of 0.238. You know what I mean? So
Jesus.
it's, yeah. Them drinks are crazy, guys.
I love a jumbo
the beach
margarita because you
margaritas are
get bang for your
crazy.
buck and you leave feeling a little warm and fuzzy afterwards. But
Do
3?
not drive. Do not drive after drinking a peach margarita from Texas Roadhouse. Please.
No, I
Ladies,
don't drink
please.
and drive, period. But, yeah, no, please don't do that. If you're gonna
Yeah.
have a ladies' night at Texas Roadhouse, get your significant other or an
Yeah.
Uber to drive you.
Yes, because it will already put you at the legal limit.
It's
So, yeah,
already
be careful.
1 drink too many for you to be able to drive with
Yes.
1.
So also the cocaine in Sara Lynn's system doesn't necessarily mean she took it that day. Cocaine will stay in your system for 5 to 14 days, and Xanax stays in your system for 1 to 6 days. So we don't know. All we know is she had some drinks.
Yeah,
That's all we know.
because that would leave your system within, 24
Right.
hours, roughly.
Unfortunately, all of this information made it easy to believe that Sara Lynn died by suicide. Even her friends, when they heard the news, thought there may have been a chance that she was just so stressed that she decided to end it all. After all, she was going through a lot,
But didn't the
including,
report say a very little chance of
oh yeah,
accidental hanging?
listen, this is just Michael Colucci calling everybody saying she killed herself, and they're like, oh, poor thing. No one has seen any reports yet because it wasn't investigated until a year later. After all, she was going through a lot, including a battle with her kids' school, which is why she was at the attorney's office with Michael that day. Both her daughter and her stepdaughter were being kicked out of their private school due to failure to make payments. And this seemed to be large failure. It took a few months minimum of non-payment for them to decide the kids were not allowed back on the property. However, Sara Lynn's mom knew her words in frustration were not a death wish. Her saying she was going to hang herself in the garage, that was just frustration. And once her friends learned the details of her death, they also knew that there was no way in hell Sara Lynn would take her life like that. If she was going to leave this realm, it would have been a beautiful tribute. She'd be in a beautiful last place, not the back of a warehouse. She'd do it in a manner that left her glowing and presentable, not hang herself with a garden hose, and she would 100% leave
How
a
is
note.
one hanging themselves with a garden hose at ground level?
Yeah.
Like, you are very short, and I saw the photo of that fence, so you wouldn't be able to hang yourself from there.
Yeah,
Let alone a
definitely not.
regular-sized lady.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
And even the state's medical experts said that the hose did not cause those marks.
I'm shocked.
She had been strangled, but likely with something smaller, like the necklace that was still around her neck. And so, on the coroner's report, her cause of death is listed as asphyxia by neck compression, and the manner of death is undetermined. Right before she died, Sara Lynn had also discovered that her home, the one that was hers, that Michael had moved into, was going into foreclosure as well. Based on statements found from others and from text messages between Sara Lynn and Michael, it seemed that he was the one in charge of these big financial payments. She sent him message after message of anger about how he screwed up and she's going to have to fix his mistakes, and he has issues and he can't keep his money, and how she wanted a divorce because she is tired of all of his screw-ups. All of this, to me, points to motive. Hello? Are we actually better detectives? Every time, I'm like,
Yes.
you guys can't see? You don't have eyes? What?
Just the setting alone, that it's not physically possible for somebody to hang themselves like that. It's stupid. People like to come to the conclusion with their own narrative of whatever makes the most sense or works out the best for him, and this guy sounds like trouble. So
yeah. Like I said, it wasn't investigated until a year later. And the officers at first took Michael's word for it that it was probably just a suicide. That Colucci name gave Michael some connections in the area. It seems people trusted him. Even though the EMTs on the scene remember seeing Michael with defensive wounds, there's no lasting evidence to prove what those wounds looked like. And even though he was arrested and charged with murder in 2016, a year later, a year after the death, he was almost immediately released on bond, which was only set at $150,000, meaning if he had a bail bondsman, it only costed him $15,000 to get out on house arrest. And a well-connected guy like Michael Colucci, even with his money problems, could easily find $15,000 or even $150,000, if not from a friend, then from his mother, who he was living with on house arrest. And even then, he didn't see a trial until 2018. 2017 had some significance, though. Michael is living with his mom and his stepdad, with his daughter and Sara Lynn's daughter that he had adopted. His stepdad is getting older and sicker with dementia. We know from Ivo Colucci's birth daughter that he and Michael never got along. And Ivo is trying to work at the jewelry store that he created and built up since first moving to the area way back in 1975 that Michael fucked up. On April 14th, 2017, police responded to the report of shots fired at Ivo Colucci's jewelry store. When they arrived around 4 p.m., 80-year-old Ivo had his hands up and was ready to be arrested, admitting that he was the shooter. The victim was Doris Colucci, Ivo's wife, Michael's mother. According to the security cameras, Ivo and Doris were having a heated argument before he grabbed a gun, walked up behind her back, and shot her point blank in the back of the head. I don't want to speak ill of people who don't deserve it, but I will admit that my speculation went a little wild with this one at first. My thoughts were, did Michael learn abusive tendencies towards women from his stepfather? Did Michael experience abuse himself and that was all he knew? I don't know. But I do know what Ivo Colucci's daughter said about him, granted it's biased, and that was that Ivo was a wonderful man. So then my speculation went to, did this sick man living with his abusive stepson learn those abusive tendencies from Michael? Ivo was an adult, sure, but he was an adult with dementia. So it's possible that he was mimicking behaviors he was seeing in his own house.
That's very
even
true.
At this age.
Mm-hmm.
It seems the investigators thought this was the case. Ivo was charged with the murder and denied bond at first, but the charges were eventually dropped due to his sickness. And although he did have to sell his business, the murder charge was expunged from his record before he passed away. He was not deemed at fault. Now, is this because of the Colucci name connections? Who knows? But it's not like his name was cleared from the media. The charges are still all over. People talk pretty harshly about this man who is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty and literally had the charges dropped. So it's really tricky. After Doris had died and Ivo had dementia, Michael had to move out, and Sara Lynn's daughter was placed into the custody of Sara Lynn's parents, who had been fighting for it. Finally, they got their granddaughter back. Michael went to trial in 2018, but boy, was that a shit show. You can watch the whole thing on Court TV and fucking shit. Don't. If you don't want to get angrier, don't fucking watch it, okay? I am telling you, it's bad.
You and your Court TV lately.
Yeah. Oh, listen, Michael's fucking lawyer, he put the hose around his own neck and pulled it until he almost turned blue. He put the necklace around his neck and snapped it in half. It was like, how could he choke her with this necklace? It would break. Oh,
that is so tacky.
He put his own wife in the same dress Sara Lynn was wearing on the day she died.
That's
and took a video
behavior.
of her outside the warehouse with the hose.
I have no
It's
words.
so disgusting. The prosecution team's job is to prove the intent of the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt. And I just told you all the terrible things the defendant's team did. I don't know if the prosecution team was in Colucci's pocket somehow or if they were just fucking stupid, but surely they were not on the side of the victim, at least the lead prosecutor. This woman told the jury over and over that Sara Lynn had a drinking problem and a drug problem and was depressed. which is fine to tell the truth, but like humanize her a little. The jury needs to know that she was a person who wanted to and deserved to live. She literally said in her closing argument that Sara Lynn was mean, but she didn't deserve to die. What the fuck?
And
Don't
what
call her
evidence is
mean.
there that she's mean? Yeah, do you know
Even
her?
if you
No.
personally think she was mean, your job is to tell the jury that mean is just an opinion. And we don't have Sara Lynn's side of the story anymore because she's not fucking here. How hard is that? Anyway, so the first trial unfortunately ended in a mistrial, and the lead prosecutor seemed not to care. In the years since, Michael has still been on house arrest, being allowed to leave only for work, taking care of his daughter, grocery shopping, and whatnot. He's not on house arrest. He has a monitor that tracks his location. That's it. They don't give a shit where he goes. It doesn't beep like on that one movie that we talked about that one time that I can't think of the name of now. What is it called? Disturbia or something? With Shia LaBeouf. Yeah. It doesn't blink when he goes outside.
I was like, there's been many movies that we've talked about.
We do talk a lot of movies. But whenever I think of house arrest, I'm like, oh,
I
it
always
beeps
think
when
of
you
that
go
too.
outside.
Yeah.
No,
Such a good
no,
movie.
it does not fucking beep at all. They're just making sure you're not going out of the country. Okay, that's all. If they're even paying attention.
Yeah. And the more money and resources you have, the less attention they pay.
Exactly. He also was not even staying out of trouble. He had money problems while on house arrest. He was evicted from at least one home. He was thought to have been a suspect in a vandalism case of Sara Lynn's old house. And in 2019, his at-the-time girlfriend accused him of domestic abuse. She said, get this, he picked her up and slammed her backwards, breaking her arm. Kind of like the same thing he did to his college friend way back in the day. But since she was a drug and alcohol user, the police didn't put much belief into it. Oh, her story changed. She's probably lying. Michael Colucci's retrial was finally set for this year, June 2025, with a new lead prosecutor, thank goodness. However, some of the very first people that the defense asked to speak with so the judge could make a decision on where to go from here were Sara Lynn's mom and that lead prosecutor from the first trial. Sara Lynn's mom told the judge when asked about Sara Lynn saying that she would just hang herself right there in the garage that day, which to me was very obviously hyperbole. And she also mentioned that she told Michael this information about Sara Lynn, which again to me is motive for him. He knows that she said this to her mom, so if he kills her and makes it look like a hanging, then maybe her mom will believe it and back him up that she just wanted to hang herself. But this conversation never came up in the first trial. In fact, it seemed like the lead prosecutor then purposefully left this detail out. She was questioned about that on the stand in front of the judge, where she made a fool of herself, was disrespectful, and looked like an immature amateur. She actually said this time that if she knew that information existed, then that would be a huge problem for this case. Which, again, it's not. If you follow my line of thought, even if you think it shows she may have wanted to kill herself, you, as a prosecutor, have a job to use all your resources to humanize this victim. And like I said, it could show that Michael knew exactly how to get away with this murder by making it look like a suicide. But since even the previous lead prosecutor had no faith in the investigation or was possibly even withholding evidence, this judge threw the case out before the jury even heard it. It is such a hard situation to view because I completely agree with the judge throwing it out. I wholeheartedly believe that everyone deserves a fair trial, even this man who, in my opinion, is not a good human. But fucking prosecutors these days are really failing. It is stressing me out to be watching the trials lately. As of right now, the charges were dropped. However, the new prosecutor, with this new information about Sara Lynn telling her mom she wanted to hang herself, is allowed to charge Michael again and take him back to court. And I hope they do. I hope so much that people keep fighting to get justice for Sara Lynn Colucci. She deserves it. I watched an interview that Michael Colucci gave to a news channel after the judge threw out the case, and I will admit that he almost got me. He almost made me believe that he was a good man who missed his wife and his wife's daughter, And then I listened to an interview that Sara Lynn's daughter, Bishop, gave on a podcast called Cup of Justice. And I realized that that man is likely an expert liar. And that's probably what drove Sara Lynn to the state she was in with her ADHD, depression, and anxiety, with her self-medicating, with her eventual enoughness. Enough of him, enough of the path he was taking her life down, enough of feeling like she didn't want to be there, enough dealing with his bullshit. She wasn't someone who was done with life. She was someone who was done with him. And it seems to me that he just couldn't have that. And if after a fair trial, a jury still believes that Michael is innocent, then so be it. But we need to keep fighting for the fairness of the victim's trial too. Because she's not here to say that her lawyers are doing a bad job. And she's not getting a fair fight out of this prosecution team. And this is why I brought you this case of Sara Lynn Colucci. It stresses me out.
I mean, it stresses me out too, and you are right. There is this pattern of like poor investigations and trials happening. Like it seems to be getting worse with time, not better.
Exactly. Like, I understand that it's so hard because I feel like some people, some innocent people are fighting so hard for the justice system to let them have a fair trial. And I get that. I 100% get that. I don't want innocent people in jail. But fighting for innocent people who are suspects is not equal to not fighting for victims anymore. We can't do one or the other. We have to do both. We have to do both. It's so hard. I hate it.
So then you hear about that disgusting, disrespectful behavior, and it makes you just that much more angry. Just because you have connections does not mean that you should be free of facing consequences for doing something horrible. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You cannot convince me that she was not murdered. Like,
I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
There's no evidence to me that points to anything else.
Yeah, even if it wasn't him, which it sounds like it was fucking him, even if it wasn't him, she was definitely murdered, okay? She has defensive wounds. Like, if he was like, oh, someone else do, I would believe that more than believing she did this herself. She did not do this herself. It was not a fucking accident. Somebody killed this woman, whether it was him, whether he hired somebody, or whether it was some random person trying to rob their jewelry warehouse. Somebody killed this woman. And nobody fucking cares? Like, what the hell? This is ridiculous.
It's not right. It's not right. That makes my heart really sad. So thank you for bringing it to everyone's attention because, yeah, more people do need to talk about cases like this.
Yeah. I heard too much about this. I watched trial clips and it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
And I just had to share my anger.
I think all of us are feeling anger. And like her friend said, like, that just goes against who she was as a person.
Exactly.
Like, even if her intent was to end her own life, it would be in a glamorous way, like they said. Like,
it was not like that.
Yeah.
Also, even if, okay, here's my biggest thing. Even if she was hanging herself, even if she was actively doing it, he was literally sitting in the car in front of her. He didn't stop her.
Yeah, so
like, what
either
the fuck?
way,
You suck
you're
either way, dude.
accomplished a crime.
Yeah.
And somebody dying. Yeah. Ugh. Well, I hope we get more updates, and I hope it moves in the right direction.
Yeah.
I don't even know
It's very
what to do with that
fresh.
information.
Literally June, I don't even know, 14th or June something 10th or early June is when the judge was like, sorry, there's the prosecution team withheld evidence, so drop charges. You can bring it back if you want to, redo this entire fucking thing. So she died in fucking 2015. It's been 10 years. Someone's got to do something.
That's unbelievable to me.
It is.
And really sad because she was like still a parent and like a business owner and a friend and a daughter and, like, yeah, it's just not right. Um, I will also say that I've noticed in mine and Kevin's TV show watching that there's been a lot of pop culture about the injustices within our system, which is good. Like, that it's good that they're recognizing that and, hopefully painting a picture of reality. Kevin and I have
Yeah.
been watching The Rookie. It's really good if no one's watched it.
Hmm.
It's got Nathan Fillion in it. He's been in a
Oh,
million things.
The Rookie. I might have seen that already.
You probably have.
He's like the there's like
He's, like,
a
40 something, and he enters the police fields after, like, his wife gets a divorce
okay,
with
maybe not.
he and his wife get a divorce, and he, like, changes
40?
careers.
I'm thinking of one that's like 20. Let me
No,
look it
it's a
up.
really good show. You need to watch it. Lucy Chen is my favorite character. Second to
Oh, okay. No, I
It's
haven't
a
seen
really good
this.
show.
Okay.
I think you and
What am
Jesse would
I
love it.
thinking of? Might be
Every
thinking
other
of.
episode makes me cry.
I only know I can find it because one of the guys in it is the guy from the show Superstore who's in a wheelchair. Fucking love that guy. So I'll just find him, Colton Dunn, see what he's played in. The Recruit. There we go. One of those words.
So close, though.
Yeah.
So close. Oh, I'll definitely have to watch that then. I like him too.
Yeah.
And I like mystery shows like that. But anyway, I'm glad to see that pop culture is moving in the right direction.
Yes.
And you and Jesse have to watch that show and report back.
Yeah. Definitely will.
Do you have anything exciting to talk about other than Mama's bathing suit incident yesterday? Like, did you guys
Mama's
have
bathing
fun?
suit incident.
Your
It
outfits
was
were so
very fun.
cute.
What did you see? I didn't take any pictures.
No, just like the shirt that you
Oh,
sent
yeah. Okay,
and your picture
You're right.
that you
You're right.
took.
I
Your
did take a
little
picture, a
star mesh
selfie.
shirt and
Yeah, I
yeah,
did
it was
take a
cute.
selfie. I forgot about that. I was like, we didn't take any pictures. How are you seeing us? Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. They did fireworks and whatnot. The fireworks, I don't know if they pissed off the aliens or what, but caused my tinnitus to flare up all fucking night, and I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning. It sucked. I've had 2 cups of coffee and a soda today so far, trying to be a human.
Yeah, and the ironic part is that it's meant to celebrate freedom and like
Yeah.
your services and stuff like that, and then it's like people that have
Yeah.
tinnitus suffer in the way that
Yeah.
it's celebrated, and I'm sure you're not the only person that has tinnitus that has served for the same reason, so that's crazy.
Yeah, it's all right. I will
And you
live.
didn't even
It
drink,
sucked, but
I'm
I'll
sure,
live.
so
I did
then,
not.
of course, on top of that, you
Oh,
feel hungover because you're overtired.
I am. I actually, though, discovered this can be my something happy. A kava drink. So apparently in Florida they have kava bars. It is an entire bar that has 0 alcohol, only kava drinks. And I got a kava seltzer, 0% alcohol, just kava. That one was really good. And then I also tried a THC drink, which I was like, I'm scared. It was only 2 milligrams. Okay, it was a very tiny bit, but I tried it and I felt good.
I'm sure you just at that
So
point just felt like kinda loosey-goosey, like a
yeah,
little more out of your head, not
yeah,
stoned. Yeah, that's
it
very
was
little.
good.
My something happy actually just popped up while you were telling me your story because I have our YouTube channel open,
Oh
and
yeah.
not 1, but 2 people, that know the victim of a story that I covered commented nice things, and that makes my heart really
Oh
happy. So it was
yeah.
the episode you didn't get to be a part of, unfortunately. It was when you
Oh
had to take Sissy to the hospital.
oh
The one on Justin Rudder's disappearance, so he was 14 and
oh.
there's a lot of theories, one of which he was either murdered, trafficked, or run away, and of course, it's not run away, it never is run away.
It never is run away.
But his nanny commented and said, "I was Justin's nanny when he was growing up, and you ladies have done a great job of recapping the case in a respectful way. Thank you, and God bless," with a bunch of little hearts. And
Oh.
the other one is a family friend who spent many weekends with him and his siblings growing up, and his grandma, who is like family to me, shared this podcast, and she has been the biggest advocate of trying to find answers that she deserves. So I'm like, that's cool. His grandma heard this and thought it
Oh.
was good enough to share. So that means so much to me. Like we've talked about, it's important to tell these stories respectfully. So if we ever don't do that, call us out in a nice way, but that's
Yes,
always our
please.
goal. But Sierra and I get comments like this pretty often now, and it's a really good feeling to know
It
that
is.
even though these people are still in the process of healing and trying to, when people disappear, I feel like there is no healing,
Yeah.
because you're always living in this
So much
time of,
unknown.
yeah, but it's good to know that, at least we're doing a good job. So thank you. And if you liked this episode, if you like any of our episodes, if you like us, be sure to leave us 5 stars wherever you are listening. It is the best way to spread the word, and it makes our hearts so happy, and it helps other people find us, because that's how podcast algorithms work. So
Yes.
and we will see you guys next week for my episode. I think I'm going old creepy history.
Oh,
I
I've been
think we're
thinking
gonna
about
talk
that
about
too.
some
So,
gross stuff from the past,
oh,
since Sierra's listening in
fun times.
1925.
Yeah.
Not gross, but just creepy things that we used to do as humans.
Okay.
You'll see. You'll see.
Okay.
I think you'll like it, but I needed a little bit of distance from recent crimes just for my
Yeah.
own mental health.
I agree, but I had to do this
Especially
one last.
oh,
Here
100%.
it is. I'm probably gonna get spooky from here on out.
No, we'll still be covering a variety of content for you guys. We're just not scripting it anymore. We're not
Yeah.
putting ourselves in a little box. We're gonna cover what we want. So hopefully that's okay with you guys, but it'll still be the same type of content.
Yes.
Maybe just adding in some more stuff. But history has always fascinated me. So
I
I will see you
agree.
then for that. And I think you guys will enjoy it. And in the meantime, keep it twisted. Twisted and Uncorked is a proud member of Weirding Way Media. Hosted and produced by Sierra Zorn and Alicia Watson. If you like the show, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can check out all things Twisted on our website, twistedanduncorked.com, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode.